Admiral Richard E. Byrd of the United States Navy flew to the North Pole in 1926 and over the South Pole in 1929. In his diary, he tells of entering the hollow interior of the Earth, along with others, and traveling 17 miles over mountains, lakes, rivers, green vegetation, and animal life. He tells of seeing tremendous animals resembling the mammoths of antiquity moving through the brush. He eventually found cities and a thriving civilization. The external temperature was 74 degrees Fahrenheit. The story even got stranger. His airplane was apparently greeted by flying machines of a type that he had never seen before, escorting him to safety, to a landing where he was graciously greeted by emissaries from Argotha. Very strange story indeed. In a moment, we go live down under to Australia with Kevin and Matthew Taylor. Their book, their work, The Land of No Horizon, they talk about the Hollow Earth theory. And tonight, the Hollow Earth, Kevin and Matthew Taylor, father and son team from Australia. Kevin is an art teacher and Matthew is a web designer, but in their spare time, they've been working together on a very exciting project. They share a keen interest in science and technology, but have always been disappointed with the many mysteries surrounding us today and the poor solutions proposed to explain them. The past 13 years, they have investigated many areas of science, and their research has uncovered some fascinating links between previously unrelated subjects. By assembling the puzzle in a new way, they have stumbled upon a key at the root of all of our misunderstandings. This key concerns the structure of the planet, the Earth, and Earth they believe is hollow, expanding. The end result of all this work is their Hollow Earth book called The Land of No Horizon. Both our guests. Kevin, how are you down under in Australia? Good to talk with you.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us onto the show, George.
Oh, my pleasure. And Matthew, hello to you as well.
Hey, hello, George. How are you?
Good, good. This theory of the Hollow Earth theory, of course, has been one of my favorite theories of all time, ever since I started reading little snippets of Admiral Byrd in his flight in the North Pole, in the work he did in the South Pole. Did both of you, we'll start with you, Kevin, did you do a lot of research into Admiral Byrd?
We didn't actually go in that direction. What we actually did was we looked for scientific evidence to support what we felt was correct. And this scientific evidence led us to believe that the current feeling of the Earth being centrally compressed and solid was incorrect. And so we actually went into the investigation many years ago, and we felt, well, we're going to find contrary evidence that will suggest that the Earth isn't hollow, and that wasn't what we found. And the end result was the Land of No Horizon. But one of the problems that we encountered all along the way was that a lot of the scientific discussions in books and so on were so complicated that you couldn't follow them. So what we decided to do was to put this all into simple common language, common sense, so you don't need a science degree to understand what we're saying. We put the book together with simple language, common sense, 80 diagrams. It's a book for everyone. You don't have to be scientifically versed. It's structured. It's a book with 3 separate parts in it. One discusses mysteries, one discusses the solution, and the other is like a storyline of the evolution of the Earth. And we have a website, which is www.hollowearththeory.com, and that's our project, and that's why we're here tonight. We're just excited to be able to tell everyone about it.
Well, tell me a little bit, if you can, Kevin and Matthew, both of you jump in anytime you want, because you're on 2 separate lines. Why did you decide to go after the Hollow Earth theory?
Well, I think initially we didn't decide to go towards the Hollow Earth theory. It's just that our investigation has led us to that. And I guess if you think about it, the Hollow Earth theory in a lot of ways, it's treated with skepticism. It doesn't seem to be a valid scientific method of study, but when we investigated, we found that there was quite a lot of evidence that actually gave it a lot of scientific credibility. And so after doing all this investigation, we ended up in that place. And so we sat and thought about this and thought, okay, well, let's actually produce a book with all this information that we have found and just show just how much we should be really looking at this as a viable alternative to the solid centrally compressed theory.
Is
so
the hollow...
So that's where the book has come about. We didn't actually go towards that initially, but it's where we've ended up.
Is the hollow earth a secret? Is it supposed to be a governmental secret?
We don't really necessarily believe that it is. I actually feel that we've had a common understanding for many generations that the Earth is solid and compressed. And the problem with that is that if anything new is viewed with great skepticism, we're already programmed to believe that. And I think it's the nature of humanity more than anything. Like, we can't rule out that there's been cover-ups at all. We can't actually rule that out. But we can never be sure either. So I think more than likely it's just a case of we believe what we were told by our previous generations, and it's fixed in our minds and we can't change.
All right, let's talk a little bit, if we can, Kevin and Matthew. When the planet was forming 4.5 billion years ago or so, Tell me a little bit about that structure. How did this thing evolve?
Okay, well, quite often when people talk about a planet and its structure, they assume that all the mass of the planet is being attracted and compresses down to the center. But there's a few things that aren't really taken into consideration that we've discovered. One of the first things is that the actual growing of a planet is one thing that is not really been fully realized. So, for example, when a planet is very small, it has a small mass, and matter that's attracted to a planet that's only small will only come down and be pulled onto the planet with a small amount of attraction. And as the planet gets larger, what actually happens is the mass of the planet gets larger, and so the material that comes to join the planet actually gets attracted with a lot stronger force. And effectively what's happening, this is in creating a planet that is more externally dense, that is dense on the outside rather than dense in the center. So effectively, as the planet grows, it becomes more dense and more dense on the outside as it gets bigger, and the center stays loosely compressed. And this is the first stage of a planet forming. There are many other things as well that we've discovered. That is, as matter comes and joins the planet, and then it gets buried by subsequent matter that comes afterwards, this original matter actually starts to lose weight. And when matter actually loses weight, it actually has no longer got the power to compress matter to a greater level of compression below it. So
now
those two processes happening together actually form an externally dense planet.
All right, now this picture that you've sent us that we have up on the coasttocoastam.com website has what appears to be a central sun, a small one, and landmass and oceans. Am I looking at this correctly? Yes,
definitely. There's a number of parts to this story. Obviously, the first part is the very basic geological structure of the Earth and how it forms in such a way. But we've taken that a lot further, and we talk about life, and we talk about the environment and so on as well. And we definitely believe that the inside of the Earth is definitely able to support life with a central sun, and very much in a similar way to the outside, it will have precipitation and in a perfect environment, basically, for life to actually evolve.
Where did this little sun come from? How did that get there?
Okay. The current theory is the dynamo theory, and there are a number of problems with that. First of all, we know that the magnetic field originates from a point near the center, but that point is not actually fixed in regards to the rest of the planet. It actually has a westward drift, and it reverses in its polarity every so long. And it's also tilted at 11 degrees. And so these things indicate that whatever it is that's causing this magnetic field is not strongly connected to the Earth. Now, the dynamo theory suggests that it's the spinning of the Earth that actually causes the actual magnetism and the holes of the magnetic poles. But what we've discovered is that the central magnetic reaction is actually formed in a much different way. As we know, that all matter emits radiation, and of course rock and matter on the outside of the planet, this radiation just dissipates into space, and we don't really notice it. But on the inside of the planet, what we find is with this inner-facing surface, this concentrates and focuses this energy into a central point. Now, we believe that the atmosphere inside the planet will reach to a thin state right across the entire planet. And it's this focused state of energy, focusing on the atmosphere, that actually